All right, let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Isani City Council to order. If we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Doing roll call, we have all council members present this evening. Do we have any public comment? Hi, if you could just state your name and address for the record there, please.
Chanel Van Vliet, 508 Moline. And I wrote it down because it's just easier. Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. I would like you to vote for Luke Merrill as mayor. He is one of the most thorough people already on the council. He isn't afraid to ask questions and stick to his vote when he feels strongly about something. He would make a good mayor because he always comes prepared and is approachable. He engages with the community and is efficient and intelligent when regarding spending money. I hope that you don't vote for Jeff Johnson. He admitted that he had no sense when it comes to money handling, and he had already had his chance, and the people voted him out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Sure, I'd like to make a public comment.
If you could just state your name and address for the record there, please.
Yeah, Lake Pennsmas, 825 East Duval. I think it's a bummer for our city to have that, to appoint a new mayor without having the whole entire city speak to who it is.
Well, just let me, hold up, let me just tell you there, so it's just a temporary appointment,
It's
so.
a temporary thing, sure, but it's, I mean, still, it's appointing somebody without the public. They're not doing it, so.
There's nothing we could do under state statute. We're doing it exactly the way our ordinance and state statutes wrote. We didn't change anything.
Speak, not hardly.
Sure.
I'm just saying that, I would ask that you guys, use discernment when you're choosing somebody. Choose somebody that's been in these positions before, that's spent tax dollars, that knows what they're doing. Choose somebody who you feels can do a good job. Our city's on the line here, we don't get to vote. Appreciate it.
Thank you. But there will be, just so everybody's clear, this is a temporary appointment. It's the fastest that we can fill the seat by an actual election is August. So we had some discussion on doing away with the primary and decided against that. So we will fill this by a special election as soon as humanly possible. But that's not something that we could do any different way. And we had lots and lots of discussion on it to try to explore better ways to do it, and there wasn't any. So any other public comment? You know the drill, I think.
Alexander Collins, I live at 1113 South Passage, Southwest Sandy. I appreciate your comment, Mayor, that this is a short-term appointment. But I have seen many short-term appointments lead permanent damage for a group of people. If you place the wrong person who has no experience, who doesn't have what it takes to run the city. I'm a taxpayer here. I would like to see someone who has the experience and the integrity to lead our city. So I should make the decision, think about the future. It may be a short term, but it can lead to permanent damage by who you choose. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment at this time. And do we have any agenda modifications?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We do have an addition to add on to the consent agenda, which would be item L11, and it is to accept donation from the Isanti Lions for some sleds for youth to use at the sledding hill.
Awesome. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of L11.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of L11 from Councilman Merrill and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Let's see, we've got the food supply drive check presentation. Keith, I suppose that's probably over to you.
Yes, sorry about that. Good evening, Mayor and council members. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to represent the liquor store as we present a check for $3,833.31 to the Family Pathways Food Shelf in Cambridge. That's 100% of the donations that we received from our customers during the month of November as part of the, I believe it was the 17th annual MMBA Food Supply Drive. We were lucky to, I think we raised about $500 more this year than we did last year. And as I think we all know, there is a need for food security in our community and Cambridge. So I'd like to get a picture with Patrick. He's here from Family Pathways, and if he'd like to say anything, give him the opportunity to say anything as well, but. That's
Sure,
what I've got.
yeah, no, Patrick, if you want to come on up, yeah, if you have anything that you'd like to say, otherwise we can just get a picture, so. Well, to come on up to the mic, and if you could state your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Patrick Belker, and I live at 1255 Maywood Street down in St. Paul. But yeah, I think it's awesome. I think I was just telling Keith, for this November compared to last November, we had a 30% increase in families in Cambridge coming to our site, and that's, I think, about this year the average is like 18%. So it's an ever-increasing need. So yeah, having that community support in the community is huge for us. So yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for it.
Thank you.
All of us? Oh.
Well, thank you to all the residents that donated to the cause there. Appreciate that. And appreciate Keith and the staff working to make that happen as well, so. All right, we'll move on to approving the city council meeting minutes from the December 3rd, 2024 city council meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. For announcements, city offices are closed Tuesday, December 24th, and Wednesday, December 25th, in observance of Christmas. City offices will be closed Wednesday, January 1st, 2025, in observance of New Year's. We'll have a city council meeting on January 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. and an EDA meeting on Monday, January 6th, 2025, immediately following the council meeting. Do we have any council committee reports?
I do have one. So the school board, they had their truth and taxation meeting. It was relatively unattended by the public, which is generally a good thing. Their local tax levy amount remained relatively unchanged this year. I think it was like 2% reduction in residential taxing and like 2% increase in commercial. So it was relatively even. So you shouldn't see a substantial raise in your taxes on that this year like you did last year. I know they're going to work harder to try and lower that as best they can, but they're kind of at the mercy of the state with that. So I was happy to see that they're keeping it pretty much net neutral.
Any other council committee reports?
I had a BMX meeting. They're just working hard at getting their New Year's race going. And then they would like to try to find a new location that fits better with their current board members and holding their meetings. So a lot of times they're at Wintergreens, and I think they're trying to get somewhere in St. Francis. So they're in discussions with that. So that's all I have.
Anyone else? All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our first item of business. K1, interviewing candidates for the temporary interim appointment to a vacant mayor's seat on the Isanti City Council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On November 19th, City Council approved the declaring of a vacancy of the mayor's seat on the City Council. City Code Chapter 8 and applicable Minnesota statutes set forth a procedure for filling this vacancy. We will be filling the vacancy with a temporary appointment. This evening, we will have an interview for 3 applicants. It'll be Luke Merrill, Jeff Johnson, and Benjamin Damaris in that order. After the interview, and the questions were given to the applicants as well as they are before you as council for them this evening. If you have any questions that you'd like to do in addition, they have to be uniformly asked of all candidates. And then after the interviews are completed, the city council will have the opportunity to vote for who they think would be the best fit for the interim appointment.
Okay. And how did you decide the order of the candidates that were going to speak, I guess? That would be a question that I would want to know if I were a candidate.
Sure. Staff put them in order as the order that we received their application.
Okay. Sounds good. So Luke Merrill would be up first, right? And then what was you said Luke and then?
And then Mr. Jeff Johnson and then Mr. Benjamin Damaris.
Okay.
I would like to note for the public, it was posted that we had a 4th applicant. That applicant had withdrawn their application.
All right. Well, Luke, tell us about yourself and why you put your name in for consideration for the open council seat.
Sure, so thank you for being here tonight. I'm a 32-year lifelong resident of the city of Isanti. I grew up with my parents and my 4 sisters here in town. I went to Cambridge Isanti High School, graduated 2010, and then I went to UMD. I got 2 bachelor's degrees there, one in economics, one in psychology, with minors in business management and a minor in marketing. After graduation from college, I came back home. I took care of my dad. He's been chronically ill for many years now, so I've been in the community here ever since. I've been involved in some local politics, and I just try to be an active member of the community.
All right. If you were going to describe Isanti to a new resident, what would you say?
So I would say Isanti is a nice small town that's close but not too close to the metro. I would say that the people here are very friendly, and it's a great place to raise kids and live.
Okay. What is your approach to handling controversial and complicated issues?
So on controversial issues, I think the most important thing we can do is get data and use that data to make decisions. I know I've been pushing for that quite a bit, is trying to get as much data as we can so we can make the most informed decision possible. One example was Whisper Ridge Park. We were considering getting rid of it, and I was pretty adamant that we should get surveys out there so we could use data to make our decisions for the people. We did that, and we got the surveys back, and it was outstandingly pro keeping it, and I think that was a very good indicator for us to fight to keep that park. People said that it was used and they'd like to keep it, so something like that, when you can use the data to make your informed decision, is, I think, the best way to do it.
Okay. What previous community involvement have you had in Isanti or another city?
So I've had quite a bit of involvement throughout my life. At UMD, I was actually involved in a lot of things. I was the president of the economics club. I was also on the Dean's Student Advisory Council. So what that was they picked 8 students from the school to sort of be a leader for each department in the school. You'd collect all the information from other students and then bring it back to the dean for corrections or changes or shortcomings, and I kind of see that similar to city council. You're a leader for people and you're the voice for the people. So that was something I did at college that was, I think, very influential in building my skills. And then obviously I've been in city council. Through city council, I'm the school board liaison for the city of Isanti. So I go to the meetings and I listen and I kind of bring that information back for residents who have questions and for city council. I'm also the city's representative for the League of Minnesota Cities. So we go down there, or I go down there and represent the city on, our views here as a city. So if you don't know what League of Minnesota is, it's basically a state organization where all the cities come together and make policy recommendations. And I lead the charge there on trying to keep things, fiscally responsible and keep the rural areas in mind when making policy decisions throughout the state. So that's something I'm very passionate about, and I think that helps the city quite a bit. I've also been on the county park board for almost 8 years now.
Okay. What skills and experience do you have that you believe are beneficial to being a council member?
Sure, so I think my number one skill is probably critical thinking. I like to think of every problem from every angle as best as I can, and then we come together as a team here. Teamwork is important. We come together as a team with all our heads together, and we come up with a solution. Also leadership. I get a lot of messages from residents, and I think, I'm meant to be a leader, and I think I do a decent job at it on city council, and I think as mayor it'd be a good fit.
Probably should have read that as mayor, not council member, so you other candidates, are you okay with me asking you that question as mayor? All right. Let me adjust the other one here too, so we got kind of some generic questions here, so. Okay, next question. Explain what you believe are the primary roles and responsibilities of being a mayor.
So the most important thing that I think is just being the voice for the people. You listen to what people have to say, you bring that forward, and you make a decision based on that. There's really nothing more and nothing less to it. You be the voice for the people.
Okay. And what do you believe are the top priorities or the greatest issues facing the city, and how do you see yourself contributing to finding solutions in those areas?
Sure, so I think obviously the number one issue is taxes. We have been very adamant up here about lowering taxes. 2 years ago, we lowered the tax rate 15%. And this year, we're proposing roughly a 2% decrease. And I think that's important. I think the residents are asking for lower taxes, not just here, but pretty much everywhere in the United States. And I think that's our biggest concern, and I think we've done a good job of that. And obviously, we want to grow at a sustainable rate and, try and keep Isani a small town.
Okay. If you could change some aspect about Isani's governance, direction, or focus, what would that be?
So I'm actually really happy with how city council and city staff and all the residents have been working together in Isani, especially the last couple of years. We were in a not so great place, 10, 12 years ago, and I think the city's headed in the right direction. I think city staff is great. Council has been very diligent about talking about all the issues and trying to come up with a solution that fits for everybody. So really, I think, the only thing I would change is just to continue to try and lower taxes and I guess try and work harder with the state so that state laws or state statutes don't handcuff us so much.
The city council and the mayor's seat would require a time commitment, which includes 4 to 6 meetings per month, 2 Tuesdays per month, beginning at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m., as well as reading prep prior to meetings. Will this fit in with your other commitments?
Yes.
Is there anything else that you would like to add to assist us in considering you as a candidate?
So I appreciate the opportunity that voters overwhelmingly gave to me and granted me with. City council has been an absolutely great experience for me. I think it's great to sort of be a leader and try and keep Isani great. So I just want to say a voice of thank you to the voters, and then I also appreciate working with all of you. So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. And then we can ask additional questions here if you guys want. Just remember that any question that you ask would also have to be asked of the other 2 candidates as well, so.
I have a couple. When was the last time you have read the League of Minnesota Cities Mayor's Handbook?
The mayor's handbook, I have not read the mayor's handbook. I did go to a couple of work seminars that were based around new mayors and new city council members and how you can get them educated, but I haven't read the manual. I'm not the mayor, so I focus on the council aspect of it.
What do you think are the strongest personal traits a mayor can have to hold the trust of the community and the administration?
I think leadership, critical thinking, and teamwork. I think if you can back up any decision you make with some sort of data, I think that promotes trust. Also, you have to be an open book. You have to be willing to answer questions. You have to be willing to interact however that person feels comfortable. Some people are only comfortable messaging on Facebook. Some people are only comfortable calling. I think you have to get people involved however they want to be, and then you can build trust with your community.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I had a couple. Have you ever had any conversations with city staff that became heated or where you had trouble controlling your temper? And if so, would you prevent that from how would you prevent that from happening if you were appointed to this role?
I have not. I think city staff here is great. I love working with them. I reach out to a lot of them constantly with questions, and I think they're a really great group of people. I have not had any issues.
Okay. And then this is a two-part question. The first is kind of a yes or no, I guess I'm looking for. Are you currently involved in any court cases, criminal or civil? And if you are, would there be potential for the city's reputation or image to be harmed?
I'm not under any of that, so there would be no potential. I did have a small claims case that I won from a tattoo artist who stole money from me, but that is not related to city business at all.
Okay. Last chance for questions. All right, thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
And we have Jeff Johnson next. Thank you, Jeff, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, if you could just tell us about yourself and why you put your name in for consideration for the open council/mayor seat.
Sure. I'm not a tenured Isani resident. I moved here in 2017. 2018, I got in the Park and Recreation for the city of Isani, and in 2019, I became the mayor of the city until 2022, and Mayor Gordon took over. I as well went to school. I majored in law enforcement. I minored in business management. I wanted to move to a quiet place to raise my children. I was born and raised in North Minneapolis, and I don't think that was a good area to raise my children, so off to Isani we went. It's been great. I went from in love to madly in love with this city.
All right. If you were going to describe Isanti to a new resident, what would you say?
It has its small town feel. I think we'd all like to stop the growth of it, but we can't, unfortunately, for legality issues. I don't think we want to waste money doing that. I think it still has its small town feel. I think we still know, I think every one of us, Councilman Lundin probably knows the whole city, but the rest of us would know 3/4 of the city. They're not afraid to say hi to you in public. It's great. Very friendly people. Very multicultural, diverse. It has everything I was looking for, and that's why I came here, and I would encourage anybody to move to Isani.
Okay, what is your approach to handling controversial and complicated issues?
I'm not a guy to back down from controversial decisions. The best thing to do is use the team. You utilize the team. You bring that controversial or complicated issue to the team, and you get as much knowledge, information as you can, and you try to iron it out as a team. This isn't a one-man sport, as we all, I'm sure, found out.
All right, what previous community involvement have you had in Isanti or another city?
Stated earlier, 2017 I was on Park and Rec, 2018 I was on Park and Rec. 2019 to 2022, I was the mayor for the city of Isani.
And what skills and experience do you have that you believe are beneficial to being a mayor?
Well, I'm very communicative. I did learn I need to be a little more communicative. I'm human, I'm not perfect. But I do have a substantial amount of patience. I can talk everything out. We might not agree, but at the end of the day, I'll still respect you. And I think that's what makes a good team, and it's going to make a city pump on all cylinders, so to speak.
If you can explain what you believe are the primary roles and responsibilities of a mayor.
Sure. you're saying as a mayor, I know, the mayor's pretty much another council member, but you're there to facilitate the meetings. Kind of make sure the council doesn't tarnish the city's name inside and outside of meetings. You're kind of the one, as well as the city council, that you have power for city government, including adapting to the annual budgets, ordinances, resolutions, setting appropriate taxes, levies, establishing sewer and water rates. There's all kinds of things as a mayor that you have to pay attention to as a council member as well. Again, you're pretty much a council member. You're just the facilitator of this meeting, with the fancy name of mayor put in front of your name. I'll leave it at that, Mayor Gordon.
Okay. What do you believe are the top priorities or greatest issues facing the city, and how do you see yourself contributing to finding solutions to those issues?
As Councilman Merrill said, I think we're beating a dead horse. Everybody wants lower taxes, including myself. I mean, I do pay them in the city. So of course, taxes would be a number one issue. I think the rate of speed that people are still, even though after you guys tried your due diligence on lowering it to 25 miles an hour, they're still treating our city like it's a NASCAR racetrack. You know, and hopefully everybody knows that, you know, we do have 2 cops on at all time, but they can't be everywhere they'd like to be at the same time. Without the residents stepping up and calling 911, they can't necessarily do their jobs and fulfill them very easily. So it kind of takes 2 parts. The residents and the police, they have to work together. Another big issue, I think, would be amenities for our children up to high school. Yeah, they have a skateboard park. They have BMX. But is that enough for our growing community? Because our community don't seem to think so. So those would probably be the 3 major things I'd focus on.
Okay. If you could change some aspect about Isani governance, direction, or focus, what would that be?
I don't think it'd necessarily be a change. I don't think a change needs to be had. I just think everyone needs to keep working together as a team and have that respect for one another. And you may not agree on personal issues. We might not agree on everything, but at the end of the day, if the respect's there, you're going to have a team that's hitting on all cylinders, and you're going to come out and make the right decisions for the city of Isani, no matter what your thought is. If that respect is there and that communication's there, those are the key. So, in all honesty, I don't think I would change anything. I think we're doing good. We just need to keep pushing that team aspect and that communication.
Okay. The city council or the mayor's seat requires a time commitment which includes 4 to 6 meetings per month, 2 Tuesdays per month, beginning at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m., as well as reading prep prior to the meetings. Will this fit in with your other commitments?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anything else you would like to add to assist us in considering you as a candidate?
Again, I might not be that long-term resident, but I do have the experience of running a city. Did I do everything perfect? No. I'm human. I make mistakes, but I guarantee I didn't make those same mistakes twice. There's a question Mayor Gordon's going to ask me. There was a mistake in that one. I might as well answer your question now.
Well, I think we probably need to do it in the same order, but I mean, you can, I guess you can do whatever you want.
you
It's,
go
well,
ahead,
no, you're right. Yeah, you can use your time for whatever you want.
Oh,
So,
I'm good. I'll wait for your question, Mayor Gordon.
okay.
Mine first, right?
Go ahead, Councilman Eno.
Jeff, when was the last time you read the League of Minnesota Cities Mayor's Handbook?
2 years ago.
Okay. What do
I
you,
ran against Mayor Gordon.
what do you think are the strongest personal traits a mayor can have to hold the trust of the community and the administration?
Communication. And no matter if you're right or you're wrong, you admit your flaws. Stand by your accomplishments. And it's not necessarily an individual's accomplishments, it's the team's accomplishments. I've never been a me, my, or I guy. I think we had enough of that with the mayor before me. I'm a us, we, or our guy. So as long as we can prevail, we'll be good. We'll make the right decisions. Will we get along all the time? I'll be the first one to tell you no, but I'll still respect you at the end of the day.
Okay, and then it's, I think, my questions here. So the first one was, have you ever had any conversations with city staff that became heated or where you had trouble controlling your temper? And if so, how would you prevent that from happening if you were appointed to this role?
The answer would be yes, I have. I would change it in the fact, I don't think I lost my temperament, but I did have a disagreement. I don't know that it was really an argument, but it was definitely a disagreement. I think I would hold that more to a city council level than I would a individual level. So if I had issue with staff, I would bring it again to the team versus trying to nip it in the bud.
Okay. And then this is a two-part question. The first is a yes or no. Are you currently involved in any court cases, criminal or civil? And if so, if you are, would there be potential for the city's reputation or image to be harmed?
The only thing I have going right now is October of last year, I was bitten by a dog. I had to have hand surgery. I did sue. Otherwise, that's it. And no, it would not impact the city of Isani whatsoever. It's actually hopefully tied up after our conversations today. Other than that, no, sir, I have no legality issues whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next up is Benjamin.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming in. All right, if you could tell us about yourself and why you put your name in for consideration for the open mayor seat.
Yes, my name is Benjamin Damaris. I'm here because I am civic-minded. I have thoughts, feelings, and opinions about this great city that we live in. I wanted there to be choices. I didn't want any de facto selections this evening, so I put my name in to at least be a consideration. My family is very important to me. The community in which we live is very important to us, and this is a community that we want to see flourish.
Okay, and if you were going to describe Isanti to a new resident, what would you say?
This is a very cozy, family-friendly community. It's very evident by the amount of parks and the kind of diverse parks that we have. We are very much looking to be and sustain the people who have decided to call Isanti home. It's a very unique city here along 65. Traveling it daily, you can see so much retail, especially from Blaine all the way up even to Ham Lake, that's not something that we need to be. And I think it would be very easy to tell someone that this is a nice place to just live.
All right, and what is your approach to handling controversial and complicated issues?
That would require diligent and thorough discussion based on the available information. It's going to require questions. It's going to require time. Making snap judgments is not guaranteed to be the most efficient use of funds. It's not the most efficient use of policy. It doesn't always work out the best 40 years down the road. We want to know why we're saying yes to what we're saying yes to, and we have to have a good reason to say no to something.
Okay. And what previous community involvement have you had in Isanti or another city?
In Isanti specifically, I've been on the Park and Rec Board for about half my time here in Isanti. Involved with the schools and youth sports and officiating. Park and Rec has been a very interesting experience. I am currently the chair of the Park and Rec Board and have held that position since, I believe, last spring around March. We've pushed through a number of larger projects. We have a good eye for the future, and that's been the majority of the community involvement.
Okay. And what skills and experience do you have that you believe are beneficial to being a mayor?
I've served on different councils in different varieties throughout the past. In university, I was on the student government for 4 years, holding a variety of positions in different boards to really experience what the campus needed in order to make it flourish. A number of projects were completed under our collective watch, and it isn't just a one-person thing, so it's learning how the council really can be a team. I've been with Park and Rec, and I've also been on the council for One Church, and being a family man with a small business of my own based here out of Isanti, I'm locally invested, both for my family's growth and residents here in Isanti, as well as my actual business itself. There's a lot of good things about this place, and we want to make it the best Isanti that we can make it.
Explain what you believe are the primary roles and responsibilities of a mayor.
I'd say initially it's leadership and oversight. Being the chair on the Park and Rec is similar but different. It's maintaining the council meetings, making sure that everything stays on track, and guiding that through the evening to make sure that we are addressing the issues at hand. Following that, it's implementing the policies and presenting to the community a positive image of the council, making sure that even in online posts, we're making sure we're upholding decorum, we're representing the city well, and don't have anything going out there that would potentially tarnish the city council's reputation. Other duties would include appointing officials, as we're doing tonight, and then maintaining public safety and fiscal oversight are two of the other highly valuable contributions of the mayor.
All right. And what do you believe are the top priorities or greatest issues facing the city, and how do you see yourself contributing to finding solutions to those issues?
As has been mentioned before, is taxes, but I'm coming at it from a different approach. It's making sure that the taxes that we do pay are being used the best that they can. Finding the best value for the dollar, especially in a time when inflation's still high. We have to find a way to do more with less, and just taxing is not going to fix that answer. We have to make sure that our safety equipment, especially for the fire and police, is up to grade. It's passing all of its code, making sure that it's ready and available to work when it's needed. And lastly, it's good growth for Isanti, specifically with businesses and residential. Any business can come in, but it's not always beneficial to the city. We can build lots of different types of housing, but if it's not beneficial to the city in the long term, it might not be the best choice. So we have to make sure that we're making responsible decisions, asking questions, working with every member of the city to make sure that we can do what's right for Isanti.
All right. If you could change some aspect about Isanti governance, direction, or focus, what would that be?
I think first is establishing a direction. I don't know that Isanti really has one at this point. I think we're kind of at a good critical juncture where we can kind of decide where Isanti goes. We have a lot of different opportunities depending on how the city of Isanti moves forward. I'm all for good growth, being responsible with an eye to the future for both our fiscal responsibilities as well as the residential building. I think it's pretty much well known that as soon as you hit the limits of going out, then we need to think about going up. And when that question comes, we need to handle it responsibly.
Okay. The city council or mayor seat requires a time commitment, which includes 4 to 6 meetings per month, 2 Tuesdays per month beginning at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m., as well as reading prep prior to the meetings. Will this fit in with your other commitments?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add to assist us in considering you as a candidate?
It's been a very interesting process, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be considered here tonight. I know that I don't have Luke Merrill's history of being here in the city, and I have not been previously the mayor of a city. However, I am bringing new eyes to a fresh situation. I think Isanti is in a great spot and, again, is at a critical juncture. My diversified education between history and technology melds an amalgamation of information that could prove useful moving forward. I am, again, a family man with a wife and 2 kids here in this city. We love it. We can't even think about leaving it, and we want to make it the best that we can. I think the one thing that I want to make sure is that our social media presence is potentially even run through a different process. Facebook polls are interesting, but they're very hard to control. Maybe even official approved responses might be a more positive image for the council going forward.
Okay, and then I think it was George's questions next.
When was the last time you read the League of Minnesota Cities Mayor's Handbook?
None. I don't have one.
Okay. What do you think are the strongest personal traits a mayor can have to hold the trust of the community and the administration?
That would be authentic and transparent. The city needs to see that what is said gets done and that they take action based on really taking in everything the community is saying. As a city council and mayor, it would be another representative of the residents that live here, making sure that every voice is heard and given fair and adequate time to speak on all of our topics.
All right, thanks.
Okay. And then I had my 2 questions. Have you ever had any conversations with city staff that became heated or where you had trouble controlling your temper? And if so, how would you prevent that from happening if you were appointed to this role?
No, all of my conversations with city staff have been wonderful. Had a great conversation with the fire chief today. Everything that's been internal within the city has been excellent.
And this one's a 2-part question. The first is a yes or no. Are you currently involved in any court cases, criminal or civil? If you are, would there be a potential for the city's reputation or image to be harmed?
No and no.
All right. Thank you, Benjamin. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
I don't believe he has to, but I think he's going to. So Councilman Lundin had just had a question, and I think probably everybody else would like to know that, I guess, but, and Luke, maybe you want to address
Yes.
that. I don't know if you heard his question, but are you required to abstain from voting from this process?
So state statute says that I can vote, but I am going to choose to abstain because I don't think it's fair if I were to have a vote in on this. So I'm going to abstain for that fact.
Okay. All right, and then I guess any discussion at all, or are you guys ready to go ahead and move on to voting?
Let's vote.
Okay.
So Mayor and Council, I'll just share with the public, so what we do from here, if you have not seen this process, is all the council members have been given a sheet of piece of paper that has the 3 names listed down with bubbles, and they will fill in their bubble, kind of similar to a voting type style. Our city clerk, Jaden Strand, will go collect those from them, and then she will be reading who the votes are for. In this instance, given what Councilmember Merrill shared, we'll be receiving 4 votes.
Better make sure I check the right one.
We have 1 vote for Luke Merrill. Another vote for Luke Merrill. 1 vote for Benjamin Damaris. And another vote for Luke Merrill.
Okay. Congratulations, Luke.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
And thank you to Jeff and to Benjamin for coming in and applying. We appreciate that. And this, like we talked about earlier, it's open for election. It's just a temporary appointment. We wish we could fill it sooner by an elected process, but this is what we have as our best option, and that's according to state statutes. So there's not a lot that we can do to control that, so. But I do appreciate you guys, and I would encourage you, if you feel called to do this and to run, to do that. The filing period, I think, for that is, I read it earlier today, I think, but do you have that off the top of your head at all?
I believe it's January 14th, but I will just pull it up.
For the open city council seat?
Well, I guess that would be another part of that equation too, which maybe we want to cover that right now too, just as long as we get all these people in the room.
Looking that up. you should
Sure.
bring that up.
What'd you say?
January 14th is when the filing period opens, and it will close at 5 PM on Tuesday, January 28th.
Okay, so the 14th through the 28th would be that open filing period for the actual election to replace the mayor seat. And then we would also, so everybody knows, we'd have an appointment, I would assume, coming up. I guess that would be up to when Luke would be resigning that seat, I guess, for the, so how, I guess maybe that's a question that you could answer and maybe explain a little bit more, is how that seat would be filled now that he's gonna be leaving and vacating the council seat that Luke currently sits in.
So the new mayor, interim mayor, would take the oath of office on the first meeting in January, which would be Monday, January 6th. At that meeting, we would also declare a vacancy of Councilmember Merrill's seat. And because the remaining term is under 2 years, it will be filled by an appointment as well.
Okay.
Let me ask you a silly question. If he's gonna take interim mayorship January 6th, well, Mayor Gordon is gonna resign his seat by the end of the month, this month, wouldn't it be almost advisable in his same position, since the council isn't gonna be meeting till then anyway? I'm asking a question. That we could speed that process,
The oath of office?
well, filling that vacated council seat. I'm just asking because we're not gonna have another meeting unless it's an emergency meeting between now and January 6th.
So you're asking if we could declare a vacancy now and then
Or-
open it
or-
up for?
Yeah, and then maybe when January 6th come, we can maybe start taking applications to fill that seat, however we're gonna do that.
It is possible that we could pass a resolution to declare a vacancy with stating that the term would be filled by Councilmember Merrill until January 6th. And, I mean, we could go through the process if that was something that council wanted to do. It would not be standard practice to add an agenda item in the middle of the meeting.
I mean,
This is,
even
but this
if,
is also a kind of a unique situation in that you have, I see what you want to,
I would
get
like
the
to
seat
fill that,
filled
I'd like to
sooner
fill
than
that
later.
seat
I
as
would
soon as
agree.
possible.
I would agree.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that seat filled as soon as possible.
January 6th.
And I think our residents would like to see the same thing. I mean, we don't want to sit up here and drag it out any further than we have to.
yeah, it's not
I
gonna be
mean,
fun having
Mayor
a forward.
Gordon and I were trying to push to have this as a regular election rather than going through, a primary. But, like I said, I think the sooner we fill that seat, the better.
Yeah, I'm okay adding it to the agenda if you guys are.
So am I.
That's- Yeah. Well, do you want to maybe work on that and bring it back at the end to do that, or?
We could, my recommendation would be that we could just add it to the consent agenda, and staff will then, we typically plug in the dates of when all the requirements are for posting to fill the vacancy, and we can do so after the fact.
Maybe we should just,
Just
get
declare the vacancy.
Councilman Heeman's and Holmgren's input if they feel the same. So we just have a consensus on that. If they feel that that's the procedure. I mean, that we're up here working all together. I mean, I don't,
Whatever procedure would make it go the fastest, I'm in.
It's no fun having an even numbers. I mean, if you can avoid having that
We
situation.
did that for a month,
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, I'm good.
and if you all feel, just put it on the consent agenda so we can get the ball rolling?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, so then date-wise on that, we'll have to probably look at it. I don't want to speak out of turn on that, but I would imagine you have to declare the vacancy, you gotta have, so we do that, we have time to have them apply. So we'll have to get back to folks on what that looks like, I guess, but that would definitely speed the process along and get that seat filled sooner than later
It
too,
would,
so.
it definitely would speed up because the clock starts ticking for how we move through the steps based on the date that we declare the vacancy.
Okay.
I would encourage both our other candidates that applied for this to do the same for that seat.
I'd like to add one thing before we close this subject, and again, I'd like to say, you know, with the mayor seat being open, we had some concern that I think people need to study a little bit more about what the mayor's position is. The mayor does not run the city. He's a council member who presides over the meetings. He doesn't have a personal agenda. Any agendas that he wants has to go through council. He doesn't have any control over financial aspects of the city. And I think a lot of people are just misinformed what the mayor's role is. He's a council member. He is the face of the city. You know, he's our main cheerleader, is the way I look at it. And he does have added responsibilities, but no more influence than the rest of us would have.
You could have waited till I left the room, George, to talk nasty about me.
And also, I'm going to miss you as mayor. I think you've done a fantastic job. I can't believe this is your last meeting.
I'd like to add,
Thank you so much for what you've done.
I'd like to add into that, you know, congratulations, Mayor Gordon, on your step into deeper politics more than most people realize. It's going to eat up a lot of your life. And his wife is going to probably be glad. Maybe she won't see you as much. But, you know, you know as well as I do, I've fought a lot of your ideas, but I also look out what's best for both sides of the street, the city and the residents, not just one or the other. You know, you've done a good job. Just hope you can carry that on with the state, and but don't have too much aspirations. That's a lot deeper fights there than you think you will have.
Yeah.
But, you know, congratulations on that, and as you stated, you will be around still, so. And I encourage our residents, you got any issues deeper in the state depth, you got to call them, you got to reach out to them. If you can't, if he isn't able to, you know, answer your calls, then, you know, when that time comes up, if he runs again, that's your decision to make at that point. But he's going to have to be more available for this job than the one he's currently sitting here now. So definitely reach out to him on other state level issues.
I'm excited that we're going to have someone down at the state that will fight for our residents, and hopefully will create some positive change away from the direction the state's going. I think you're going to be a great voice down there. You've been probably the best mayor I've ever seen in this town. It's a bummer it's 2 years short, but you got bigger fish to fry, and I think you can make a big influence down there, so congrats.
Thank you, guys. I didn't even ask him to say that or anything, so I appreciate that. I kind of gave a little farewell speech, I guess, last time, when we declared the vacancy, but, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, that's definitely still serving the residents and just in a little different capacity. And so I want to thank all of the residents of the city of Isani for the experience and being on the council. I mean, we had a great time when Jeff was mayor, and I had a great time working with you guys, and even being in the minority at that time was, I learned a ton, and I mean, had lots of great conversations, and I wouldn't trade the experience here for anything, and I think we've done a lot of good, and I think we've got a lot of people in this town their hearts are in the right place. They want to see good things for this city, and we've been just so incredibly blessed. I was talking to Steve yesterday, I think it was, about that. I mean, we are so blessed to have the staff that we have, from PD and Public Works and the liquor store and finance and administration and community development. We've got, I mean, if you guys could see the team that we've got, it's we're really, really a fortunate community to have the people that we have working at this city. And it's easy for us up here to give direction, but they're the ones that actually go out and make it happen day in and day out and do the work. And so we're really, really fortunate to have people like that here. So.
You know, one thing you got to add is this staff does not have assistants. The staff is, the department head is the department. There is nothing underneath that. And they work very lean. They work very hard. I've seen a lot of staff members going in and out of here. When I'm done with this term, that's 18 years I've been on this city council. Like Luke, I've been here since 1964 in this community. So I've been here a long time. And Mr. Johnson's comment about knowing everybody in town, back since I remember when this town was 300 people, I could know everybody then. This town grows by 300 a year. So unfortunately, I don't know everybody. Mr. Heeman said to me, I must have worked on every person's house in this town with the way the election went. Unfortunately, no, I haven't. I just think that people have seen me be here as long as I have. But I am going to say this. This is the final time. I'm going to say this. This is my last term on this council. 18 years has been long enough. And it's time for some new blood. And, but I've been proud of everybody, even past 2 mayors ago, what a lot of us had accomplished. There was a lot of good things done under 2 mayors ago. There's a lot of things that were done, shouldn't have been done. There's, you know, it's gone like this for this growth of this council and what they've done. So I've seen, you're all new to me up here. You know, there was 4 other people I sat up here with for many years. So, you know, but, you know, again, Mayor Gordon, I appreciate everything you've done, and I hope you can carry that on the state level.
Well, thank you, guys. All right, well, let's move on. That's enough of that.
If I could, I did calculate the dates, I'll share that.
Okay, yeah.
So everyone has the dates. So we will post in the paper for December 26th and January 2nd. We'll be accepting applications, which will start tomorrow, and it will go for 21 days until January 7th. We'll post the names of who have applied on January 10th, Friday, January 10th. And we will have interviews at that following council meeting, which would be Tuesday, January 21st.
That isn't too bad.
No.
That's
That's pretty good.
yeah.
It's only one meeting with 4.
All right, awesome. So, yeah, so anybody, like I said, with the mayor candidates, I mean, you definitely that filing period, 14th through the 28th to run for the special election. Don't hesitate to do it. And then if you're interested in the now vacant council seat, or what will be vacant after tonight's meeting, the filing period will be the 26th of December through the 7th, and then the interview, just like you saw here tonight, would be the 21st of January. So, all right, thank you.
It'll start tomorrow, I'm sorry, did you say that?
Oh, what did you, the 20?
It'll go in the paper, because we.
Well, you said the 26th, right?
It'll be in the paper on the 26th, but actually, it starts tomorrow. We'll have
Oh.
the application ready tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. So the application period will be tomorrow,
The 18th.
the 18th.
It'll start December 18th, and it will close on January 7th.
Okay,
We accept applications for 21 days.
okay, all right, so never mind. So it's gonna go in the paper the 26th, but it'll be, you can apply anytime between now and January 7th, essentially. Okay, all right, awesome. Well, thank you, guys. It's awesome to have everybody coming in and checking out what's going on here, and thank you again to all the candidates that applied. So it's not easy to put yourself up there in that spot, and I've been there. I've done that, actually, so, but yeah, it takes some guts, so. All right, moving on to K2, the resolution to consider adopting the 2025 final budget.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is just an update from the last meeting. So we removed the $30 Mayor's Association, and we reduced the general fund levy. We have, as it sits with the resolutions before you, the levy increase would be 2%, and the projected tax rate decrease would be 1.8%.
Okay.
So I would like to say I am a little worried about pulling that much from the fund balance. I know it's good to sort of err on the side of caution with that, and I'm hoping Mike's projections are fairly conservative, so we can end up being like net wash versus going in the hole on the fund balance. But I think it's a good compromise on the budget, and I would motion to approve it.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion on it at all? So I would add though too, that, I mean, we're talking still at 50% on the fund balance. So I mean, I read in the paper today actually that it was, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it says in the paper that, that is technically the state suggested minimum or maximum or something, maximum I think it was, on what you should have. So I don't know if that's the case or not. I know we've talked many times with Mike and he'd like to see, anywhere from 40 to 60-ish kind of is.
20 to 70% would be the range that I recommend. That is the.
So you're
fund
okay,
balance
as long as you got a savings account, yeah. So I think we're still sitting pretty well, and then like I said in the last meeting too, you still have, if you wanted to take money out of what we have in the liquor store fund, if you absolutely had to in an emergency situation, that's really like another 18% that would go to that fund balance, so you're really sitting pretty flush on cash still, so I think we'll be just fine. All right, so I had a motion to approve and no other discussion? All right,
Second.
from Councilman Merrill and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. We'll move on to the K3, resolution to consider adopting the final levy 2024 tax levy collectible in 2025.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add except to just acknowledge that the preliminary levy was higher, and that is one of the only charges by state statute. Your final levy cannot be higher than your preliminary. So.
Yep, so it's still lower. So we went down, I think with the year before, we cut 150,000 off the levy from 2023. And even though this levy is slightly higher than, I think we said a 2% increase this year from last year, it's still lower than the levy was in 2023. So not by much, but just barely. So that's still another great thing there, I think. So any discussion on this one?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Moving on to K4, the resolution to consider adopting the 2025 enterprise fund budgets.
Nothing to add on this resolution. This is the same as presented on December 3rd.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Moving on to K5, a resolution to consider approving a cost of living adjustment for non-union employees.
Again, nothing to add. This is same as presented on December 3rd and matches the union contracts.
Mike, I do have a question for you, if that's okay. So every year, does that rate change, the amount of COLA adjustment? Does that go based on a union recommendation? Is that something that we could limit or not limit, or how does that work?
That portion, so the last union contracts, all three contracts lined up. We got them in sync in the same year pattern, which hadn't been the case necessarily in the past. That prior 3-year contract called for 3.5 in this particular year.
Okay. Do you know what it
And
is
those-
next year?
There isn't. We will be in negotiations, and my recommendation would be to start those negotiations much earlier in the year rather than later.
I was gonna suggest maybe, I mean, it might not be a totally popular opinion, but I know every person in the city doesn't get a cost of living adjustment, and I don't know if that's something we can discuss as a council, to see if we can, limit that 1 year, or if we can adjust a little bit, because taxpayers aren't necessarily seeing that, so I think we should, follow what the trend is in taxpayers, not necessarily what the union has to say.
Yep, that would all be for negotiations
Okay.
in coming months.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill. All in favor, unless there's other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Moving on to K6, a resolution to consider authorizing engineering services for the Asante Hills Improvements Preliminary Engineering Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Now that you just approved the budget, here's the first step in the process for the Isani Hills project. This has been identified since the 2010 capital improvement plan, one of the worst remaining neighborhoods in town. This is just to approve the preliminary engineering report, which is to follow the MS 429 assessment process as a option for funding on this project, like we've done on the past few projects that are like this. There are also 2 state aid routes on this project area that we'd be able to use the funds to help pay for that as well. There's a figure showing which segments are included in this plan for this year. It's phases 1, 3, and 4 of Isani Hills. It's basically the next segments south of the South Brookview project we just did a couple years ago, as well as east of that. But once this region is done, I believe we've actually managed to do all the projects that were identified in 2010.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is.
We've been talking about trying to catch up on that for, well, ever since I've been here, and, well, probably ever since you've been here, I would
Oh, for
imagine,
sure.
yeah. But
So I do have a question, Jason. Do you know roughly how many miles that stretch is right there? I kind of did a Google estimate, and it was around 2.1 miles total. Does that sound about accurate?
Sure.
And it came in at roughly $28,000 for the cost for Bolton and Mank to engineer it.
No, this is just the study.
Just as a study, okay.
To follow the assessment procedure, that we have to create this report that says we've identified the problem, what needs to happen. We've included surveying it so that the actual engineering cost, if we decide to proceed after this stage, won't have the cost of surveying, because we'll have done it for part of this. Yeah, no, if we proceed with the actual design and construction, it'll be more than that.
Okay. I was looking at the next item, and if you look at the math per mile, it doesn't add up, so that makes sense
Yep,
why.
yep,
Okay.
Yeah, this is just to do the preliminary engineering report to follow the MS 429 process. And when I present that report, if, that'll find what the estimated project cost is and how the funding will be, and we'll have a preliminary assessment hearing to present the information. That's when you decide whether you want to proceed with the actual project. And that's when in the report, we'll determine what the engineering fees would be to approve at that time.
And that's a not to exceed amount, the 28,000? Or is that already set in stone, basically?
No, it's a not to exceed. Actually, I'm thinking I can likely come in under that because the survey isn't going to need to be very extensive, because if you recall on South Brookview, we left more than half the curb in, and so we didn't need to get surveyed behind the curb because it's just staying in place. So we don't have to regrade and redesign and find out how we're going to tie into driveways if we don't remove it.
Okay.
And so once we do this first pass once we begin evaluating it and we see how the curb's looking, and we'll kind of know how much survey to actually go get. But this dollar amount kind of includes more of a full survey. And so I'm hoping that we can come in under this number.
I know that neighborhood has been dying to have those roads redone. I mean, ever since I've been on, it seems like every 2-3 weeks someone messages me like, hey, is this getting done? Next year, it'll be done.
I'm not sure how much of it isn't patched now.
Right? It's been bad for a long time. I will make a motion to approve K6.
Second?
I have a motion from Councilman Merrill and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Moving on to case 7, the resolution to consider authorizing engineering services for the 2025 pavement management project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this is the approving the full design through construction services of the 2025 pavement management project. And if you recall, last year, our bids came in a little higher than we wanted because we kind of had a small amount of mill and overlay and a small amount of seal coats. And you guys had that direction of let's reevaluate whether we want to regroup only doing mill and overlays in one year and only doing seal coats in another. And so we looked at the next 5 years, and we did find that there's almost we'll call it a perfect amount, but a reasonable amount of mill and overlays over those next few years to put into one project. And we do want to do that one now, and that is what you just budgeted for, to try and catch those streets before they go so bad that they wouldn't be able to get the mill and overlay to work, or it'd be a little too deficient, and we'd have to be looking at doing a reclaim like we're likely doing on the Isani Hills project. And so to be able to catch those now is pretty ideal. And then the next 3 years would just be seal coat projects of the roads that didn't need the mill and overlay. So doing this, we're hoping we're gonna get those better bid prices because it's a one type of improvement that's a larger amount. So economy of scale type of a thing. With that said, there's a figure that goes along with this for which roads are being looked at. I'm having trouble switching over on my screen here to give you guys the list of streets. There we go. So Whiskey Road from Heritage to Isani Parkway. And then Isani Parkway from Whiskey Road to 3rd Avenue. And then we have East Dual Boulevard from the proposed roundabout limit to the water tower access road, are the areas to the north half of town. And then 1st Avenue right here out in front of City Hall. 1 block of Main Street from 4th Ave to 3rd Ave. That's kind of the only last little piece there that's kind of fallen apart. And then Creekside Lane, dead-end road at the end of 4th Avenue that isn't a curved road, but it's just gotten to the point where we got to do maintenance on it or it's going to go bad. So those are those identified roads that we've pulled out, regrouped, and if we hit them now, we hope to avoid, further repairs in the future.
Awesome. Any discussion? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion.
I do have a couple questions, Jason. So I'm just really curious why the post-construction inspection costs are so high at almost $60,000, but the engineering beforehand is around $40,000. Why is the post-construction inspection so much more when it seems like the engineering beforehand would be the more expensive part?
So on a mill and overlay project, it's extremely easy to do the engineering in that all we're gonna do is draw out plans based on aerial images really that are how much area of pavement we need to do. And the cost of an overlay, how do I wanna say this? The actual amount of streets that we're doing and the difficulty of the plans are very simple.
So why is it $40,000 for the engineering estimate?
Well, that's a really low percentage compared to any other project we've ever done with you guys, to be honest. Aside from a seal coat project, but like a mill and overlay by percentage is a pretty simple, it's just as easy to design as the seal coat project. It's just that the seal coat project, you do a lot more miles than you do for the mill and overlay because of that cost. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say. There's not that many streets, but we're drawing the same amount of drafting and specs that we would do for many more miles of a seal coat. And so it's strangely easier to design a mill and overlay project than a seal coat project. But then when it comes time to do the actual construction, you need a guy out there all the time to make sure they're not hitting castings, they're tying in driveways, they're milling, but not getting into the next layer down and having it like get into a crumpled subgrade. Make sure they're not doing, things we don't want them doing. And then they're almost like a daily field fit. So we spend less time on the design side and more time on the field side on a mill and overlay project. Whereas the reconstruction projects, we spend more time on design to make sure it's gonna work. And then, I mean, you still need somebody in the field, you know, to make sure that all works out, but they're a lot more balanced on cost. This is just one of those kind of unique projects, I guess.
So the post-construction inspection cost isn't just post afterwards, it's during as well?
Yeah, no, it's everything after bids are received.
Okay, so there's a lot more than just coming out and making sure it's
Not-
done?
Not post-construction, I guess, it's post-bidding.
Okay,
The second you guys choose to award the project and proceed, that's where that budget goes.
that makes way more sense. I was thinking it was like, oh, we come out and we see it's done and that's 60 grand.
No, no,
Okay.
that's the-
That's what it reads like, it's
No,
like,
that's the 2.5 months that'll be getting mill and overlaid.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Right. Sorry, it shows up as post-construction?
Yeah, I thought I read that in there. I was a little surprised.
But no, that's, yeah. So the first half is through bidding, because that's where you guys have a choice to stop and say, you know what, no, these bids are terrible, we don't want to move forward. And so that's where the first budget is to that point, and then if you guys choose to proceed at that point, then we get into that next dollar amount.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve, and it's from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. All right, moving on to K8, the ordinance to consider amending City Code, Chapter 123, cannabis, hemp, tobacco, and other delivery products.
Mayor and council attached is an ordinance for a full repeal and replace of our current city code, chapter 123. This is in response to the city legalizing cannabis and hemp-related products come January 1st, 2025.
State.
Or state regulations, yes. At Committee of the Whole, November 19th, this was discussed for limited provisions that the city council can have some say in what they want on how they can do regulations, particularly most of it is around zoning. And then at City Council on December 3rd, Council reviewed a draft ordinance for this, and that is what you have before you, provisions that we discussed, and it has been posted for the required 10 days.
Any discussion? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve.
I just want to say that I'm indifferent to the legalization of marijuana, but I am very disappointed with how the state rolled all this out. I'm worried that it's opening us up for risk, and I'm going to be opposed to all these changes just because I think the state needs to know that they can't just haphazardly roll these things out with no real thought. It's not good for our residents, it's not good for the businesses, it's not good for anybody. So I'm going to be opposed to all these just for that. But I think the city staff has done a good job on it, so I don't want to take away from them, but that's
A lot of work.
mhm.
Yeah.
Too much. The state should have handled all that legwork for them. And now our residents are paying for that with our city staff time having to do the state's job for them, and I don't think that's right. So,
Well, I mean, I don't know, I mean, a lot of the work was zoning and just changing ordinances to license, or not license, but register and all that kind of stuff. So it's, I don't know that the state necessarily should have paid for that, but it would have been helpful if they'd have been more clear, and still, their language is
horrible.
hazy, let's say.
And we will have to do enforcement.
Come on, nobody laughs at that?
Yeah, yeah. Easy, yeah.
Enforcement of making sure that businesses are doing what they're supposed to do will fall to the city.
Yeah, and that would have always happened in that regard, no matter what. But yeah, clearer direction would have been much more helpful. But we're doing the best we can with it, so. Any other discussion?
A motion to approve it.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin, and a second from Councilman Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
That motion carries 4-1. Moving on to K9, the ordinance to consider amending City Code Chapter 160 for fees.
With the passing of that resolution, we do have to amend our fee schedule, and this is City Code Chapter 160. And we are recommending what was discussed at our city council meeting on December 3rd, which is a cannabinoids registration fee of $125, a cannabis registration set at $500, or we included language, 50% of state annual license fee, whichever is less, which is a requirement by the state. And then cannabis registration renewal set as well at the 500, or 50% of the state renewal license fee, whichever is less.
Any discussion on that? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Holmgren and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Moving on, or excuse me, that ordinance passes, or that passes 4-1. Moving on to K10, the ordinance to consider repealing City Code Chapter 295, tobacco, cannabis, hemp, and related delivery products.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We did have some cannabis and hemp-related language as well as tobacco in Chapter 295. That language has been included into that Chapter 123 that we just recently adopted this evening, and so we are recommending that we do a full repeal on that chapter.
Okay. Any discussion? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve that one.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Heeman and a second from Councilman Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
You could have voted for that one. That's just getting rid of the old stuff. That motion carries 4-1.
Someone's got to stand up, man.
Well, but that one's taking it off, the old stuff off, so.
Can't we lump these next ones?
Can we lump these next ones together, perhaps? That's a great question, Steve. Okay, all right. So we'll go ahead and, this is all just zoning changes. So we have K11's, the ordinance to consider amending zoning code, chapter 445, section 6, residential districts. K12, ordinance to consider amending zoning code, chapter 445, section 7, business districts. K13, ordinance to consider amending zoning code, chapter 445, section 8, industrial districts. K14, ordinance to consider amending zoning code, chapter 445, section 10, special purpose districts. K15, ordinance to consider amending zoning code, chapter 445, section 13, use regulations. And I don't know, Stephanie, if you maybe want to give us a little bit of a history of what you've got going on there and maybe some updates and.
Yes, with considerations of the replaced City Code Chapter 123, cannabis, hemp, tobacco, and other delivery products. Chapter 445 is also recommended to be updated to include coinciding language for uses permitted in each zoning district, specifically for that zoning district. There was some typos found within section 13 of the use regulations, and those have been fixed as was recommended. Otherwise, it has been posted for all have been posted for the required 10 days. And any questions?
Any questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve K11 through K15.
I think we went through all this before anyway, didn't we?
We've talked about it at length at Committee of the Whole. I think maybe even at some council meetings. I think at City Council meeting, we talked about it. Yeah, so nothing's really changed prior, compared to those, what we came up with at those meetings, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve K11 through K15.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
That motion carries 4-1. Moving on to K16, resolution to consider approving the snowplow agreement for Fairway Greens North, 3rd edition.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Due to the wet conditions caused by rainy weather at the very end of this fall during the construction season for the roads in Fairway Greens North, the timeline of asphalt plants closing coupled with that, they weren't able to complete the pavement throughout the entirety as they were hoping, just because of the stability conditions of the road and engineering not being able to approve it. So at this time, there is temporary pavement down, and this, due to it not being up to city standards, having a temporary gravel cul-de-sac in that area, the city does not want to take on that road for this season. So this is the agreement for JPB Land to maintain that road for the remainder of the season, with their intention of completing the project as soon as they are able to early this spring. And if that is not the case for some reason, we do have a letter of credit that is sufficient enough to cover all the costs associated with completing that development.
I think it's totally reasonable.
Me too.
Yeah, so they're gonna plow the road that they're doing construction on and stuff until it's up to snuff.
Yes, and no one will be living on that road and,
Yeah.
until.
And, yeah, sure.
There's the permits just were pulled recently in the last week, so.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Merrill and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Moving on to K-17, resolution to consider approving the second amendment to the development agreement for Fairway Greens North, third edition.
And due to the same factors, they weren't able to complete the roads. They were, as we've allowed in other developments previously, they were requesting to be able to pull permits on two of the parcels that are adjacent to the corners of what is already the improved road, just so they can start construction on them. No COs will be issued until the road is complete this spring, but they just want to be able to start construction on those two parcels.
Okay. Any discussion, or?
Does staff have any concerns about this?
No.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Heeman and a second from Councilman Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Moving on to K-18, resolution to consider approving a special event permit for Rum River BMX's New Year's race.
Good evening again. The Rum River BMX has applied for a special event permit for their New Year's Eve race. Specifically, last year it was approved for the annual event, but this year the number is exceeding, doubling the amount in attendance as was last year, and therefore will require more overflow parking into our parking facilities, and so that is why a special event permit is required. And so this is a special event for them, permit for them to host the New Year's Eve event, which goes from 8 p.m. through January 1st at 5 a.m. The estimated number of people in attendance is 600 to 700, and they'll be utilizing the restroom facilities within the arena, and parking will be restricted to their indoor arena parking lot as well as the Bluebird parking lot. The applicants are here if you have any questions.
Yeah, if you want to come on up and tell us about the event. Otherwise, if you're good with that, we'll move forward with it. But I always want to give you an opportunity to promote, and that's great to hear. I mean, that's a lot of people. That's a fun way to bring in the new year, so.
Tim Dobusinski, 101 Sandy Parkway. So this race is just, there we go. That work?
Mhm.
Okay. This race is just to give our riders and their families something unique to do on New Year's Eve where they wouldn't normally have something to do. So, there's been a lot of talk about some more people coming that haven't came, the previous year. So that's why we're expecting maybe a little bit more attendance. But other than that, that's all I had, unless you had some questions.
Do you guys sell alcohol there?
No.
Okay.
Park. That's what they
Okay.
tell me every time. but-
Yeah.
No, the building's alcohol and tobacco free.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck with that. So,
Motion to approve. BMX has done they've done great. I think they do the city proud, and they deserve every opportunity they can get to showcase themselves some more.
absolutely. All right, I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. And then for the consent agenda, let's see, we had an L11. I suppose one of you guys wants to say thank you to the Lions for that.
He just went, that was the Lions in the
The
VFW.
Lions donated that, the sleds.
VFW part of that too?
Yeah, that was VFW Commander.
Yeah, he just took a call.
Well, didn't you say it was the Lions that were, that donated the sleds?
safety lines.
Yeah. Well, I'll say thank you then. Nobody else is paying
Absolutely,
attention.
thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So,
Yep, awesome.
By the way, on that topic, the snow making, man, is that cool? That's, how has that been going? Is it,
We just about lost it once, but we got it back. It's going, it's a slow process, but we're making snow every day. It's weather permitting.
it's really cool, yeah. I
That's
mean,
the new
it's-
equipment?
We have a lot of compliments on it. What was that?
The new equipment?
The new equipment, yep.
And it's working out good?
The best is to get 2 machines going. That's what we're running with right now is 2 machines. We're making snow every day.
Huh.
And it's
Yeah.
being used, and we had a lot of compliments.
Yeah, that's great.
I have a quick question. The lights aren't on in the evening. I've noticed I've gone by. Can those lights be on timers or something? Like kids are sliding in the dark.
Well, they go off at 10 o'clock, but they are on right now.
The timers,
Then they must, we'll have to look at timer, because
the timers were
Okay.
adjusted recently, so they were fixed to make sure that they're on more frequently.
Yeah, the goal is to have them on till 10, so, well, thanks for bringing it up, so, but, okay, cool.
I do want to give a shout out to Leafs Towing. They've always provided good service, as well as fair pricing on our RFPs. That was good to see. And then I wanted to thank Josie and the staff for the hard work on the schedule for next year. There's been a lot of moving parts, and I know putting that together must be a bit of a hassle, so.
All right, and then we've also added L12, which was declaring the vacancy on the city council to the consent agenda here, so. All right, any other discussion on that? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned, and if anybody wants to hang out, we'll be going into our committee of the whole here shortly.